Yeah,
Taylor, are you going to hit record?
she already has.
You're good to go.
Okay. SSDA Nation, welcome, and I'm super excited to, you know what? I have a Penn State person here today. I'm going to wear my blue glasses just for you, man. What do you think? They look a little corny, a little bit Dodger-like, but we'll pretend it's Penn State. Jay Westover is with us today, and you know, Jay, you're such a talented person looking at systems and innovation, and we're so happy that CCEE is going to fund us to work with you and help some of our small districts. I think you know this, but may or may not know this. About 62% of the schools in California are small, and about 300 plus are rural. So we know we're going to talk about that focus. But tell us what you got going on for us next year. It sounds like we have a great series you're offering.
Yeah, so we're calling it Systems on the Move, and it's a collaborative. And like you just mentioned, Tim, we've learned a lot from the pandemic. So our thought was, what if we create a district collaborative that allows districts of any size to join, but take the lessons learned from the pandemic and then decide how to move forward in a more innovative approach with higher impact. And so we know networks are a great way to share learning across school districts. And also this network structure provides an opportunity to do a deep dive. So in the networks, we're going to engage with senior leaders. We're also going to engage with principals and with teachers because we think the system needs to have all three levels be supported.
You know, Jay, one of the things that I've really noticed, and has been an amazing thing that's popped up, this Zoom thing now lets districts stay, they're usually bound by their county office or their region. Now we've got superintendents who've met each other on Zoom and are working together or sharing resources. To me, that's super important because I think we get stuck in our tunnel, and I think our members are very busy right now. Tell me, you know, I can't think of a more important thing to focus on innovation and really structure. Is this going to be worth their time? You know, they're so busy and overwhelmed. Why select this one, would you say?
Well, you know, I would say that we've learned a lot over the past 15 years. And if you want to think about the pandemic, to really simplify that and make it so it's not complicated and burdensome, you know, we found there's like, you could almost call them 4 key drivers. They're questions you can ask that make the work simple. Like one, do we have clarity of focus? Well, you know, just that idea of what is our focus? Are we clear? Is it impactful? Is it simple? The other one is shared leadership. You know, during the pandemic, we haven't always been able to be together and work together. So we have to make sure we have shared leadership. And the other one would be collective expertise. You know, we may have been doing work before the pandemic. We've now realized because of the pandemic, there may be other ways to engage students in learning. So the question is, what expertise do we need to have? And then we know that the idea of continuous improvement is important. So I think, you know, from the standpoint of don't want to waste people's time, but want to have an impact, if you can shape the work by simply engaging with small school districts and saying, what focus makes the most sense for the work at hand? Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's prioritize. How do we work together in our own school district, but maybe even across school districts? What that shared leadership look like? And then expertise. I've seen districts now doing more innovative practices because there was an opportunity. You know, necessity is the best mother of invention. I've seen districts doing things now that they may not have thought of beforehand. So now it's like, what can we achieve after this pandemic moving into the fall? So I guess the simplest way to say that, Tim, is we don't believe that you should ask districts to do more. We believe we should actually ask districts to simplify and focus. So the Systems Leadership Collaborative, you know, is really about schools being on the move, districts being on the move, but we just want to define what's the most important priority. How do we move that forward? How do we maximize student impact? And how do we continue to improve practices?
Yeah, and Jay, I think a lot of worries that I have about all this billions of dollars coming from the Fed is people reach out for the flavor of the month, right? Superintendents love, they go to workshops or conferences, come home like, I got a new thing here, right? So tell me you're not, you know, I always call that, a lot of times you used to see your principal go to a conference and you're holding your breath on Monday when they come home and go, I got an idea, people, and everybody in the room goes, oh, here we go. This isn't like a flavor of the month. This is taking what you do well and get it to be better. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, in the work that we've done, and I think we've been validated because many people, know Chris Steinhauser, he's retired from Long Beach. It may be a large school district, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the work's not the same. And you've always heard of that term like the Long Beach way.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's important is it doesn't matter the size of your school district. Really, the flavor of the month is the opposite of we have a way in which we engage in improvement in our school district, in our school site. So our approach has always been, let's figure out what are the most important processes that you should put in place. What are those high yield practices? The end goal is sustainability and saying, here's the way that we know that we can engage in the work in a way that has an impact. And then if there happens to be a change of superintendency or principal in a school district, they really have to adapt to that way that makes a big difference. I think that's the only way to move away from flavor of the month is a deep commitment on what works best for our school and district. Yep. So that we can agree on what's the way that we want to do that.
Yeah, Jay, it was interesting. Chris Steinhouse, Chris came up to Butte County and went over his pledge or promise that he made for preschool and middle school. And
Yes.
I had 18 charter schools there and 14 districts, full house, and you can learn off the large. We stole his exact program and fine-tuned it a little, but it works. And promising kids free, college for 2 years was our end goal, and it works. So I agree with you. Looking at the best practices, larger, smaller, good. Hey, I wanted to ask you one more thing. The word innovate's in your name, right? And to me, I think that takes a lot of practice and work. I don't think superintendents get time to breathe and innovate. How do you push out innovation with districts? Because I think last year was phenomenal. Last year if someone would have told you a year ago that every teacher is going to be teaching from home in a digital platform, you would have told me you had too much fun at Chico State back in the day, man, and it worked, yeah. Right? So how do you get innovation to continue instead of back to the normal or back to the old?
Tim, I just want to maybe make sure that everyone has the same understanding of when we say innovation, because some people think about disruption. So here's the way I usually think about it, and I'll answer your question. So you can do what's called iteration. And iteration is I'm going to fine tune and tweak something I've done before. And I have school districts now to work with that say, I can't wait to come back so I can do what I did before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's like the opposite of innovation. But the word innovation really means doing something that works better. So it could be a simple replacement. It's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, but it's asking the question, is there a better way? Can we have a greater impact? Have we engaged in a past practice without a purpose? Or how might we achieve greater results by considering a new approach? So here's the best way that I've heard that recently phrased by a superintendent. So I was in the Hesperia Unified School District, worked a long time in the Hesperia, and the superintendent stood in front of the schools and said, I know that all of you have learned a lot during the pandemic. I'd like for you to talk to your staff and identify those innovative practices that have made a difference. And then I'd like you to share with me which ones you want to move forward and how. And if you have a commitment in your school, and you have a theory of action or a way to do it, I want to give you money to innovate and accelerate. So I don't want to impose innovation upon you or force it. I want you to come up with better and more effective ways and reflect on what has worked better, because innovation can't be an individual act. It has to be a collective effort. So when I think about innovation in school districts, I think the best approach is by simply providing the opportunity to say, is there a better way? How might we have more impact? And remove the risk taking from the topic and say, if it works, I'm going to give you 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and then we're going to review progress and impact and move forward. So we believe innovation then is grounded in a collaborative inquiry process. The best school districts that I've worked with, they innovate, but innovation occurs in periods of time, like in a 9-week period. What have we learned better? What makes the biggest difference? What should we continue with? Let's move that forward. And is there another way? So innovation could be thought of as a strategy for innovation. Because some people just hear innovation and they buy technology. They go out and get stuff. It's more of how can I become more innovative in short cycles of improvement.
Yeah, I equate that to calling some people entrepreneurial, right? So I fell in this landmine one time. I wanted Butte County to be super entrepreneurial, and I rewarded that with a lot of praise and all that. And after about 3 times of doing this little you all come meeting and praise people, the Title I director came over and she goes, my staff's not happy with you because you don't praise us. And I go, well, Title I's this. And they go, no. They have people come to them and say, I want to buy this with Title I. And they find a way to do it, right? That's innovation. Like you say, finding things to make it better, right? And so I now look at entrepreneurial can be, it doesn't have to be someone who invents a spaceship. It could be someone who does that technical work, that super innovative, super entrepreneurial. Hey, listen, so let's talk about the series real quick. So you're basically talking schools would sign up and they would do a series of workshops throughout the year. Is that what you're thinking? Is that?
Yeah, so the way the model's structured, I'll try to share it from a small school district standpoint, is we're convening senior leaders 4 times, and that'll be an in-person 4 times, North States, Northern California and Southern California. And those are opportunities that, for a small school district, that might be less members, but it might also be maybe a group of small school districts. So there may be 3 or 4 or 5 superintendent principals that want to come together and work on this together. So Chris Steinhauser and I will be co-facilitating that. We're going to take the lessons from Long Beach and our work over the last 15 years. So 4 times. The next layer down is more principal oriented. So any school that wants to participate, we also have it structured so they can engage 4 different times throughout the year. It'll be the things you described, like how do we accelerate learning? How do we maximize impact? How do we ensure that we have a shared leadership and high quality instructional practices? So more of like guiding the work. And then we've embedded inside of that some interim Zoom sessions. So we want to have a personalized approach. So might as well use Zoom because now we know it works. So we can do half days of drop in, have a very personal touch on, how is your work moving forward? How might we be of assistance? So the theory of action really is senior leaders and principals could be together separately, come together 4 times throughout the year. But then at the end of it, we have what we call a learning fair. So, when you think about a science fair, typically in secondary schools, the learning fair is giving people an opportunity to share, here's what I learned, here's what I did, here's why it works, and most importantly, here's what I'm doing moving forward. And what we want to do is harness the innovations from across all schools and districts. Because we think if we can have a school district that wants to be innovative in a certain area and is showing impact, why are we not having a way to share that innovation and that more impactful practice with other school districts? So the real ask is you have to be committed. And at the end of this, you have to be able to share a presentation of what you did, what you achieved, how you did it, so others can learn from you.
Hey, man, sign us up. We will push this out to our members. This is good stuff. I'll have to get you and Chris out to Baker, California. You go to Likely, California. We'll take you to little towns that are unbelievable all throughout the state. And really thankful that CCEE and you are willing to work with our smalls. And I'm hoping our members realize what a great opportunity this is. And Jay, thanks so much for today and really appreciate talking to you. And really good stuff, man. Really appreciate it.
Well, appreciate it, Tim. And I also want to thank you for putting on those blue glasses because I wore blue just in case.
Yeah, I'll put them back on. Just stay on just for a second. We'll stop the recording. Good stuff.